Hey guys, Tim Miller from the Bulwark here. I just got finished debating Dean Cain on the Piers Morgan show. Yeah, that's a real sentence. We're in a strange world. And I wanted to show you some of the clips from it. Look, I mean, for starters, when you get to a chance to debate a former Superman, somebody whose character was premised on protecting the vulnerable and who decided in their real life to become kind of a cosplay jackbooted thug, you got to take the chance, you know? You got to take that opportunity. Somebody emails me up. Are there any other Hollywood stars out there that want to debate me? I'll be a debate me bro for Hollywood stars. I'm happy to do that. So I want to do it for that reason, and also just because this is an issue that I really care about. And my goal in the conversation was really just to continue to drive home the point that it is dangerous to have untrained people getting recruited into doing very sensitive immigration work. The individuals that are on the receiving end of ICE are humans, for starters. In many cases, they're actually not here illegally. ICE has some people that were literally American citizens, but also there are people that, had, visa issues, people that were here on temporary protected status got kicked out. I find this is complicated, right? It's not just they're at a Home Depot, so they must be an illegal, right? There are layers to this. We've seen a lot of mistakes from ICE already. And in a country that was serious about both protecting its borders, but also protecting rights, in a country that cares about freedom, you would want immigration officials in particular to be highly skilled, highly well-trained, understanding the law, understanding what the limits are of their power, understanding the rights of the migrants, and Dean Cain just doesn't. And a lot of people that he's going to go work for don't care about it. And that is the scary thing. That's the bad thing. And I think that's the thing that hopefully, even some people, even peers, it seems like, and some people that watch the Piers Morgan show that consume MAGA media are like, look, this is too far. We are part of the small government side of MAGA. There's also a fascist side of MAGA, but we're part of the small government side of MAGA. We don't want federal government overreach. We don't want people's rights trampled on. We're Gadsden flag people. We don't tread on me people. And hopefully it resonates with them. Also, one other thing. I want to try to get into the ether. It's not a good thing for our country to have zero immigration, to have negative net migration. That's not good. The countries where that happen are some of the worst countries in the world because people don't want to go there because their regimes are authoritarian, because there's limited freedom, there's limited opportunity. So even if you're going to praise Trump for what he did on the border, and obviously, clearly there's been less illegal immigration and more control of the border, there's something to be said for that. But the other part of that is, okay, well, we also still want to be a welcoming country. We also still want to be a dynamic and growing country. We want to be a country where people can come and have opportunity. That's a good country, right? A bad country is a country that has closed borders. Nobody's trying to get in and everybody's trying to get out. That's where Trump's taking us. That's what the stats say. So anyway, much more with me and Dean Cain. Stick around for that. Subscribe to the feed. Comment below. Let me know how I did. And I probably could have kept my cool a little better at some points, but it is what it is. And we'll be talking to y'all soon.
Tim Miller, welcome back to Uncensored. First of all, in terms of Trump's overall policy on immigration, do you applaud the success he's had in pretty much shutting down the southern border? And do you agree that any undocumented Americans who commit crimes in the United States should be deported? I mean, on those 2 points first, are you broadly in agreement with what they've done?
Sure. Good to be back, Piers. I knew you were going to ask this question because I got it the last time I was here. So I have a little bit of follow-up for you. Look, I think that obviously the border was too open under past administrations, and we need to have control over who's coming into the country and who's not. There was some progress on that actually in the last year. The Biden administration, Donald Trump as administration has advanced that further. I think having control of the border is something that makes sense. Deporting people that have committed other crimes, not just, we can discuss what we mean by crimes, but deporting people that have deported violent crimes, rather, as opposed to immigration crimes. Of course, we should deport people that have committed violent crimes. Here's the problem, though, which is why I just can't give him full credit. You don't actually want to be a country that nobody wants to come to. Because that's where we're at now, where there is zero border crossings. And that is actually not a good thing. I wanted to pull up. Here are the list of the countries with negative net migration. That could be us this year. We're going to have negative net migration, more people fleeing America than coming. Some of the other countries that have that: Syria, Venezuela, Ukraine in the middle of being invaded, Pakistan, Sudan, China. That's not what we want. A growing country wants people to want to come here. We want people to want to fleeing communist countries to come to America. We're going to have negative population growth for the first time in this country. Other countries that have that: Russia, Cuba, Bulgaria. I don't aspire for America to be like Syria and China and Russia, where people don't want to go into their countries. We don't want to have a country that's fully locked down. And I disagree with Donald Trump's immigration policy across that board, because that's what's happening in this country. People are no longer coming here. It's not just the violent criminals that are being kept out. People that want to come, work hard, contribute to this country. That is what America has been founded on. That is, they pay lip service to that. They say we support legal immigration, but they're not allowing people into the country. We're going to have more people leaving America than coming for the first time in a while this year.
And you broke the law when you came here. It's the same as in any other country. You've got to find a way to legalize yourself or self-deport, or else ICE will come and they will deport you.
Okay, Timothy, your response to that?
And this is crazy, what he's saying, and I disagree with the tactics and the policy. The tactics have been, again, brutal. I think that Dean Cain wants to turn the country into something that looks more like an authoritarian country. We have negative people coming in, people going out. We have people in masks. Look, Dean was on Fox the other night, and Jesse Waters asked him, "Will you hop out of ICE vans and start apprehending guys?" And Dean said he'd be willing to do that. This is crazy. This is not a TV show. Like, this is real life. The idea that somebody who is not trained would join ICE and join these guys that are putting on masks and jumping out of U-Hauls at a Home Depot and nabbing people, it's a horrible policy. It is un-American. It is not how we should treat people. It does not show a respect for individual rights in a free country. And the policy itself of deporting these people of deporting everybody that is here undocumented is a crazy policy. It would crush the economy. Donald Trump's even backtracking on this policy because his friends in the ag industry have called him and said, you can't deport our ag workers. And then on top of that, not only is the policy bad, and not only tactics un-American of these masked thugs jumping out and grabbing people, but ICE is screwing up over and over again. They don't need more agents. They certainly don't need more untrained actors as agents. Right here in Louisiana, I'll just give you two. Madonna Kashanian, she's a 64-year-old Iranian grandmother. She came here as a student. She did everything that Dean said. She was trying to get asylum. The U.S. kept kicking the can on that. She kept going to appointments. She's gardening outside her home, and she gets picked up by ICE. She was in detention for a week. Jose Francisco Garcia Rodriguez, 73-year-old grandfather. He emigrated on a U.S. boat from Cuba and tried to get asylum. Had a paperwork mistake. Arrested by ICE, held for a week. George Redis in California, 25 years old, worked as a security guard, U.S. citizen. ICE grabbed him, held him for 3 days. And this, we can argue about this. This doesn't even get into the Venezuelans that we sent to CCOT, many of whom didn't come to the country illegally. They came legally. They sought asylum. They came across the border. And rather than sending them back to Venezuela, ICE and Kristi Noem sent them to a torture prison in a third country that they weren't even from. So, ICE does not need more untrained agents right now. ICE needs to learn how to follow the law and treat treat people who have not committed crimes with respect and with the rights earned.
Okay, but Tim, it remains the case. Hang on, Dean. I'll come to you. The thing I would say, Tim, to that, as I said in the intro, it remains a fact that the level of deportation so far in this Trump term are about half of what they were in the Obama and Biden administrations.
You alluded to it. That's because this is kind of one of these things that's, statistics, like lies, damn lies and statistics. Part of the reason for that was, as you said, the border was open. We can critique it, probably too open during the Biden-Obama administrations. When they're counting the deportations, that's people that come to the border, come across the border, get sent right back across. So it's easy to run the numbers up when you're doing that. The border right now is shut down, as you guys mentioned. So what they're now doing is going to get people from inside the interior of the country. That's much more challenging. And so they're spending all this money to get new ICE agents. People who are former actors apparently are going to come in and start helping with this. And the problem when you go into the interior of the country to start finding people is if you're just trying to get a quota, Stephen Miller set quota, you're going to end up nabbing people like George Redis, who is actually a citizen, or like Jimena Arias Cristobal, who was pulled over incorrectly, that they got the wrong car, and you're going to screw up. But I would just point out, Piers, that a lot of the people who are being deported, again, didn't come over illegally. We're not talking about people across the Rio Grande. We're talking about either children, DACA kids that got brought here by their parents. We're talking about people that overstayed visas. Donald Trump and J.D. Vance have made a bunch of people illegal that weren't, because they came through asylum. Either Joe Biden or George Bush or Obama or even Trump actually himself in the first term gave people from a lot of countries, Venezuela, Cuba, et cetera, asylum, temporary protected status, Haiti. This was a big thing during the campaign. And so now they've taken away their status and they're like, self-deport or we'll deport you. So these people didn't come illegally. Like, they came through a legal process, and now we've got ICE agents and apparently former Superman actors are going to jump out of vans and nab them and hold them in deportation cells. That's insane. Like, that's not how you act in a free country. So no, I do think in a lot of these cases it is different. Like, a lot of these situations are complicated.
All right.
And they've tried to come legally.
They are. There is no doubt it is complicated. Dean, over to you.
Tim, I don't understand why you have to go, a former untrained actor. I'm not untrained. I've been a sheriff's deputy for almost 10 years. I've been a sworn sheriff's deputy and a reserve police officer. So I don't know why you're saying untrained. And by the way, when you join ICE, they train you. So to say that and try to denigrate because I'm an actor, I shouldn't be able to be concerned about what's going on with our borders or with our law enforcement agencies is denigrating. It's ridiculous. Should I say because you're a former Republican strategist, you have no say on anything? That's baloney. So first of all, discounting that, making a cheap joke, just like John Oliver or Bill Maher, anybody else. Let me finish my sentence. Let me finish my sentence. Let me finish my sentence, please. Let me finish my sentence, please. Denigrating somebody because they're doing this because of what they used to do or what they do, or whether they're an actor or a writer or a newscaster is ridiculous. It's an ad hominem attack. It's wrong. And there's been over 100,000 people who have put in applications for ICE. So clearly there is a desire for people to step up and serve this country.
Dean, if you show up at someone's, you said on Fox that you'd be if they sent you in, you'd be happy to jump out of a truck and go apprehend people. So if you show up at the door of someone's home as an ICE agent, which you're an ICE agent now, do you know what rights they have?
I'm not an ICE agent yet.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so you are an untrained former actor. You are an untrained former actor. I am a former actor.
I'm a former professional football player too. So when I run down my resume, so it's stupid.
I'm just telling a fact.
Yeah,
you're an untrained actor.
Denigrate it as though it's something negative. You denigrate it like it's something negative. Like you know what you're saying. So quit trying to gloss over it. It's ridiculous. It was snarky and it was stupid.
I'm telling you why it's negative because you don't know the job. You don't know the job. That's why it's negative. It's nothing.
You don't know that I don't know the job. You're just assuming. You didn't. Did you know I was a law enforcement officer?
I just asked you. Do you know what migrants' rights are? If you show up to someone's house as an ICE agent, do you know what rights they have? Do you know?
They have all the due process rights of anybody in this country.
Okay. So do you need a warrant signed by a judge to apprehend somebody?
This is ridiculous. I'm not a sworn ICE agent yet.
You were saying you were happy to jump out of vans and start apprehending people. You were bragging about that.
I will. And then you made it, of course. And I would if that's what the director asked me to do.
I'm going to say.
Stupid argument.
Hang on. I've got to say, of all the arguments to use against Dean Cain, I do find the kind of constant sneering that he was Superman and an actor. I do think that's irrelevant, actually. He's perfectly entitled, as an American citizen, to train up to be an ICE agent should he want to. And as he's made repeatedly clear, Tim, he'll only start being an ICE agent when he's completed that training. So I don't think the fact he's been an actor or footballer or Superman or anything else makes any difference. The fact he's been, as he said, a sheriff and other things in terms of law enforcement actually makes him more qualified than most citizens to train to be an ICE agent. And if he wants to be, then what's the problem? Why should we use his background as a stick to beat him with?
I can answer that, Piers. Are you not concerned that ICE has decided that they're just going to go on this recruitment campaign and start leveling up the amount of agents that are going to be masked? going into Hispanic communities?
Well, no, I think.
Hold on, just
on the
is that
masking.
not
Well, hang on.
we want trained people. We
Well,
want
no, on the
trained
masking.
officers. This is very hard. This is hard work, and we got to respect people's rights. And ICE is not doing that.
But nobody.
And just following up really quick.
All right, but two things.
People is not great. It's not going to help. That's a real concern. That's a legit concern that people who are not trained are going to be doing these jobs.
Sure. Two things I would say by way of response. One, I've not seen any evidence that people are going to be poorly trained to be ICE agents. They'll be recruited as they always have been and trained. Well, you're talking about trained ICE agents.
They keep grabbing people.
I don't think wearing masks. I don't think Yeah, but But my second point was we all know why they're wearing masks. It's because they're being doxxed left, right, and centre on social media and having their lives threatened. Of course they are.
No. This is bullshit. For starters, we have evidence ICE agents aren't being trained. It is. Really quick. Let's go back to George Redis. He arrived at work. He was a U.S. citizen. ICE agents surrounded his car. He identified himself as a U.S. citizen. They broke his window, pepper sprayed him, and dragged him out. He was in detention for 3 days. So we do have evidence that they're not being trained to respect people's rights. And on the masks, this is crazy. Do you know how many judges have been threatened? You know, if you're a judge and you have, there's a case that is happening, you're a prosecutor, and you're targeting a murder suspect. These guys have been threatened. There have been judges whose families have been threatened. Their lives have been threatened. There are a lot of people in public life who have been threatened. You still don't get to wear a mask and be a secret judge. Not in a free country. You don't. I'm sure you get threatened. I'm sorry. If you're an agent of the government, if you're a representative of the people, you need to show your face and name yourself so that you have accountability. That is a totally reasonable ask. And so I have no sympathy.
Let me get Dean. All right, well, I'll get Dean to respond, but there is an irony, of course, that all the people who campaigned so aggressively for everyone to be masked during the COVID pandemic are now furious about the wearing of masks. Dean, your response.
The unfortunate reason that they're masking up is because they are being doxxed. The attacks on ICE agents have gone up over 1,000%. Their families, you disagree with that stat?
No, I'm sure that, but look, that's what I'm saying. I'm sorry, if you work for the federal government, you cannot be a secret agent that nabs people.
Do you disagree with the stat? I asked you specifically.
Okay, I'm saying it doesn't. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You still you still can't be a secret thug cop in a free country. I'm sorry. You have to tell people.
They're not thug cops. And the fact that you're denigrating them and calling them these names and these things is part of the problem. And same thing with me standing up and joining ICE. You are going out there and you're villainizing. Let me finish my sentence, please. You're going out and you're villainizing myself. You're going out and you're villainizing these ICE agents who are trying to uphold the law. These are wonderful men and women. They shouldn't be attacked. Their families shouldn't be attacked. They're doing their job that Congress has given them the authority to do and written the laws for. If you don't like the laws, have Congress change them. We should be upset that all these congressmen aren't delivering a new legislation, a new legislative piece, talking about how these things should be dealt with. That should be the problem, but not doxing our ICE agents and not going down and just tearing them down and turning them into villains like many people have tried to do to me. They're not villains. These are wonderful people, and they're trying to protect Americans.
And also,
you're coming out with names. I'll give you names. Jocelyn Nungary. How about her? A 12-year-old girl killed in Houston by illegals. Was that okay? Do you care about her? Are you going to step up for her?
Of course not. Of course that's not okay. Of course
I do think it's important. Yeah, but it's important, Tim, I think, just before you respond, it's very important to acknowledge that ICE are also apprehending a lot of very bad people in this process. I mean, indisputably, you can see the stories every day. So, yes, there are some that are getting through the net, which is unacceptable. I don't like the tactics of storming into Home Depot and rounding up random people who may be undocumented. But we shouldn't be too denigrating of what ICE is doing in removing bad people. That we should all be on the right side of.
I don't denigrate that, but I'm just saying in any job, there are people that are bad apples that act poorly. It's true about podcasting, news hosting, acting. Like, I'm sorry, when you have the force of the state at your hand, you have to be transparent about who you are. And allowing people to be masked and to rough people up without any accountability is just wrong. And what about that guy? I don't have his name in front of me. There's the older gentleman outside the IHOP in LA, where you are, Piers, who got pepper sprayed, pushed to the ground, manhandled, thrown into a van. There was a video of it. His kids all served in the military. He hadn't filled out some of his paperwork. Is that the way that we treat people? It encourages bad behavior when guys get to wear masks and rough people up. So I'm sorry. Sure, obviously, I'm not denigrating all people that work for ICE, but there have been some very bad actions, and their treatment of some of the migrants has been wrong. And I think that adding in new people who are not trained for this, who have been riled up by the extreme rhetoric of some in this administration, I think that you're going to bring in people that care more about deporting people and getting back at the bad immigrants than they care about respecting people's rights.
The Metropolitan Police Department statistics for DC show crime down in almost every category in 2025. Violent crime down 26%, property crime down 4%, all crime down 7%. And a US Department of Justice report says violent crime stats in the city are at a 30-year low. So what do you make of this?
I don't like it. I don't understand. Conservatives used to be a small government party. This is our instinct. Control is better, closer to a locality than it is from the national government. The idea that he said also in that press conference, I guess, that the DC Police Department is now going to report to Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi doesn't have any experience managing a police department any more than Dean does as an ICE agent. So this stuff is not serious. Okay, this is not serious, and I don't like the way that he denigrates the country either. It's like if a Democrat went out there and talked like that about things in Alabama, on this show, Piers, people would be up in arms, clutching their pearls about how the Democrats look down on Americans, et cetera, et cetera. Trump's out there trashing D.C., our once beautiful city. It's squalor now. D.C. isn't squalor. Go to D.C., go to Logan Circle, go to Georgetown, go to the Wharf. D.C. is beautiful. Yes, there's crime. Yes, I'm sure that there are legitimate reforms you could bring to, bring more law and order to the city. There's some discussion of some reforms about treating like these carjackers who are under 18 as adults. I'm open to changes like that. The idea that the federal government should take over a local city's police department, I just think that's dangerous, not conservative, and I don't think it's based on any actual serious effort to try to resolve policy changes. I think it's a power grab.